10 cells in a petri dish. My husband, Cy, and I had a 2-baby plan. And after a few nights of steamy you-know-whating, we managed to summon baby number 1 from the universe. We named him Joel. 2 years later, with our lives flowing with the joy of baby rocking, lullaby singing, nursery rhyme chanting, toddler toddling, language building, aquarium and zoo visiting, with our hearts so full of love, we were ready to welcome baby number 2. That's when I spotted the dot. Picture Cy, a Paul Rudd look-alike, shaving shirtless in the bathroom mirror. I stopped toweling my hair because on his back I spotted a menacing black dot. One trip to the dermatologist and that dot had a name, melanoma. At the post-surgical consultation, Cy's oncologist asked us, "Did you two have any really big plans?" I floated a cautious response. We were going for baby number 2. He looked into my eyes with his own watery brown ones. "Well," he said, "only if you're willing to raise that baby alone." And our lives changed. Cy quit stealth smoking, embraced exercise, revised his diet, and entered a somewhat promising clinical trial. 2 years turned to 6. Year after year at the oncology visits, I'd bring up baby number 2, and I'd get the same answer. Only if you're willing to raise that baby alone. In year 8, I finally got it. Both Cy and the oncologist were tossing that question back to me. And I'd been silent. Silent because I let cancer scare me back to my worst self, my most doubting part. The part of me that adds maybe and places a question mark after every one of my dreams. I showed that doubting part to Cy on our first date, a Friday night special at the Ponderosa, where after finishing a T-bone, Cy brushed off his paper placemat, whipped out his Waterman pen, and commanded, "Tell me your dreams." I only got to 3, and he spotted the doubt. Me. Maybe I'll get a Smith Corona Electric. Maybe I'm a writer. Maybe I'll get a doctorate. He stopped me. "Babe, drop the maybes and the question marks." I started my list again. Get a Smith Corona Electric. I am a writer. I want to get my doctorate. I dropped the maybes and the question marks, and we filled that placemat with dreams, mine, his, and what would become ours. Cy became my cheerleader with that ever-ready mantra, "Of course you can, babe." Baby number 2 was on that Ponderosa placemat. And for 8 years now, I'd been maybeing and question marking that baby dream. In the oncology office on year 8, Cy grasped my hands. "Honey, I'm all in. You've got this, even if the worst happens. You got this." Without a hint of hesitation, I answered the question. I will, I can, I'd love to go get baby number 2. So we eagerly you-know-whatted for 6 months without any results. My internist sent us for fertility treatment. The HMO's flimsy fertility treatment program consisted of 2 parts. Part 1, the nurse handed us a brown paper bag stuffed with vials of Pergonal and 30 sterile syringes. Then she gave Cy a 10-minute lesson on delivering the egg-releasing shot using an orange as a substitute for my derriere. Part 2, she instructed us to do a lot of you-know-whatting. 6 sacks of Pergonal later, with my buns turning blue and you-know-whatting losing a lot of its spark, my husband's internist handed him a referral slip. Go see Dr. G. He's the Major General of IVF treatment. We assembled in Dr. G's consultation room, a dark office lit by a 6-foot-long X-ray light box and a small library desk lamp. Dr. G, a dead ringer for Captain America, sat behind a desk piled sky high with medical records. He tapped the 6-inch pile that belonged to me, and he cut to the chase. Those HMO idiots did not do a histosalpingogram. I gratefully embraced the word idiots, as did my sore bottom. But I was clueless about the histosalpingogram. However, one histosalpingogram later, and we were back in Dr. G's office with him pointing at that X-ray light box. I was right, see? Sure, we squinted at some murky gray swirls. Your fallopian tubes are blocked. Those eggs are all backed up there with no place to go. Think of it like a bunch of kindergarten kids all stacked up at the top of a slide. I see, and I added a suggestion. Unblock it? We got no time for that nonsense. We're gonna harvest those eggs, fertilize them in the lab, and using our own trusty tubes, get those babies where they belong. He handed each of us a beeper. When I beep, you get back into this clinic and pronto. We're losing time. Yes, sir. I saluted our general. I got beeped first. It was a long needle, but the egg harvesting was enormously successful. After a few days, Cy got his beep. The problem with Cy's beeping was that when he got beeped, he was teaching a day-long course on advanced psychopathology. At 11 o'clock a.m., right in the middle of a pithy lecture on narcissism, his beeper beeped. Cy called an early lunch, hopped a cab, and rushed downtown to the clinic. There, an earnest lab technician, Jamal, greeted him with a plastic cup and ushered him into the donation room. A dimly lit corner office stacked with Playboy magazines, a VCR machine, and plastic furniture. Jamal pointed at the TV. We got Debbie Does Dallas on DVD, if you need it. Cy did not. And within 10 minutes, he handed Jamal the precious donation and set off to rejoin his class. Now, 90 minutes later, Cy got beeped again. It was Jamal. Anxious and penitent. I was crossing the lab, and I tripped. Over an electrical cord, and, well, it splattered all over the lab floor. Cy thanked Jamal for his honesty and his refusal to use dirty, splattered sperm. Releasing his class to a grad assistant, Cy flew back to donate. This time he did need Debbie Does Dallas on the DVD. The next beeps were for both of us. Dr. G met us at the clinic door, all smiles. Implantation day! Want to meet your maybe babies? We sure did. In the next moment, we were peering through an incubator wall at 10 petri dishes, all lined up and ready for implantation. Our maybe babies. That's the one, my husband gushed, pointing at a petri dish sporting the most froth. Our kid's that passionate, foamy one. I counted the bubbles in that petri dish. 10 cells, honey, and they're all rainbow colored, and they're bobbing and twirling. Sure does seem like our kid. Cy pointed at the bubbling 10 cells. Doc, make sure you use that one. Dr. G rolled his eyes. Dude, he declared, we're implanting all 10 of them.
Oh, God.
All 10, I shouted. Just a little side note here. My sisters and I have been heavy contraception users. Why? Because our mother's contraceptive plan, dictated by an ancient male hierarchy, resulted in 10 pregnancies in 11 years. Her daughters, we chose a different path. Or did we? Here I was, facing some real my mother myself karma. Would I have 10 pregnancies in 1 year? Worry hijacked my brain. Dr. G, I can't have 10 kids in 1 year. His somewhat reassuring response returned me to my original worry. Oh, honey, there's only a 7% chance you'll get one. Cy gave me a sly wink. Babe, I'm betting on 10 cells. I smiled, stealing Cy's mantra. We got this, babe. I kissed him on the cheek and I gushed, our darling 10 cells is already quite a phenomenon. 4 days later, with my chest singing, we knew that 10 cells had joined our family. 3 months later, Cy studied a sonogram of our baby bobbing away in a cross-legged Buddha position. He pointed out an emerging detail. Honey, I think it's time. Time for what? I asked, following his pointer finger to a blurry feature. Time to rename 10 cells. How about going with David Jordan? Wow, I was all in. When cancer came for Cy 3 years later, our lives were so hectic, so joyful. From 3 years of baby rocking, lullaby singing, nursery rhyme chanting, toddler toddling, language budding, aquarium and zoo visiting, our hearts were so full of life that the news didn't totally crush me. It didn't crush me because I had no maybes. No question marks. At year 8, I decided I'd take whatever time I could get parenting alongside Cy, and that even with him gone, our little family would go right on living. And David Jordan, that's one real how I got you story.